États-Unis de la Chine, en passant par la Russie.
Kohei Uchimura, first up on the floor. Steve Schlanger, Amanda Borden, Bart Connor. Olympic gold medalists and a Pinewood Derby winner. Now let's figure out who's who as we move along here. Uchimura, the reigning gold medalist from the World Championships 2 years ago on the floor. And where isn't he a reigning gold medalist? It seems like all across the board in this sport, he is the top man.
He is, and in fact, this is going to be an amazing final. 2 Americans are in the final, Stephen Legendre and Jake Dalton. The guy at the end of the rotation is going to be fun to watch too, Kenzo Shirai. I mentioned a few minutes ago that Uchimura is the perfect blend of artistry and difficulty in gymnastics, and he's very well known for very soft landings. You know how a basketball player might have soft hands around the net? He has the finesse to just plant those landings better than most gymnasts I've ever seen.
Well, in a finals competition, quite often, that's what it comes down to. We have 8 phenomenal athletes. All of them, lots of difficulty packed into these routines, so it's going to come down to those few tenths on every single landing.
And the gymnasts love this new floor exercise system. The equipment company is called Janssen Fritzen. It's a European company, but this floor is a combination of super foam and springs, and it is like a 40 feet by 40 foot trampoline. It is awesome.
Well, let's
but not everybody
make it sound like this is easy.
It's certainly not easy, but it is also making it more difficult for gymnasts to drill landings, except, of course, unless you're King Kohei.
Well, that set the tone for sure. 7 more to go, and that's going to be the score to beat.
Been undefeated since the 2009 World Championships in the all-around, and his life has changed a lot lately. Got married, had a baby.
What's it like for everybody else, though, to have him go first, set this type of tone, and it's a sport where you can't play defense. There's nothing anyone else can do about Uchimura's performance. So how do you follow him?
Well, you know, he's actually at a little bit of a disadvantage going first, because typically in the finals, the judges traditionally are a little tight on the first couple of routines because they're waiting to see if anybody comes along who's better, and they save a little room. But, you know, it's hard to say. He's so complete, and the world knows that he's one of the best of all time. So maybe he is the gymnast who would be least hurt by going first.
Well, he was ranked 3rd in the qualifications. So there are 2 athletes that beat his score day 1. However, he's got a lot of experience. Defending world champion on this event. He also took home silver at the Olympics on the floor exercise.
I'll give you an example, though, of how the difficulty matters in this competition. His difficulty value, 6.4, was what he used to qualify. The gentleman he's going against is the young man from Japan, Kenzo Shirai, who has a 7.4 difficulty. And Shirai is only 17 years of age, so it'll be interesting to see if a routine and a score of 15.5 will hold up against guys with higher degree of difficulty.
Well, he gets that 1-point advantage in the difficulty score, which makes a big difference in the end.
And now the first of 2 Americans on the floor.
Stephen Legendre, this is his 4th consecutive finals at the World Championships on floor. He was 8th twice in 2009 and 10, 5th in 2011. They also made the vault final here in Antwerp.
And he's the U.S. national champion on this event.
He's so powerful. Look at this. Double twist to double front. Oh, just a little short. Now remember, in the finals, it's going to come down to thousandths of a point separating these gymnasts, and you got to nail those landings.
Wow.
2.5 twisting double back.
First 2 landings in that forward position, quite often that can be much more difficult. There another one to stick because of the blind landing. You come up a little short, you can sit it down so quick. So you see a lot of the athletes taking that forward hop. His difficulty day 1, though, was higher than Kohei, 6.8.
See a lot of these gymnasts do 6 and even 7 tumbling passes now. It's amazing to me that they can work all of the difficult tumbling in such a short period of time they're out there. Just a little bit over a minute, minute 10. You hear that signal giving him 10 seconds to complete his exercise. Arabian pike double front, wow. but he had about 4 or 5 little hops on the landings, and a small hop would be a 1/10 of a point deduction. A larger hop could be as much as 3, as he gets congratulations from his coach, Mark Williams. Williams, the head coach at the University of Oklahoma, who coached Legendre there.
We had a lot of difficulty packed into this routine, but what makes it so hard is those front landings. You saw Kohei really going for the sticks. It is tough to stick those landings. This one, obviously, a roll out. Those deductions on the landings are up to the judges, can be anywhere from a 1/10 to 3/10, even 5/10, depending on the size of the hop.
Look at Mark Williams trying to help him stick those landings. The U.S. men did a very nice job here at these World Championships. Of course, it was a disappointment that Sam Mikulak in the all-around botched his high bar routine in the final rotation, and he certainly had a spot on the podium with his name on it until that moment. Ended up 6th place. So the U.S. men are without a medal yet at these World Championships.
It was tough to watch. My heart was racing. It was his best event, and
he's an incredible gymnast, Mikulak, and I'm sure we'll see much more of him in the future.
How much do judges these days judge on reputation, like Kohei Uchimura, who we just saw, who is perhaps the greatest of all time, and then you have others who are still trying to make a name for themselves, others competing in their first big international competition, so you have all ends of the spectrum.
Agreed. I think the new rules, though, minimize that a little bit, because there's 2 components to the score. There's the degree of difficulty, which is a concrete number. It's not in question. Then there's the execution score, which is an average of 6 judges computing. So it usually works out about right.
15.366 for Legendre. And his American teammate, Jacob Dalton, will be coming up shortly. Meantime, it's Diego Hypolito of Brazil, 3rd on the floor.
Oh, this guy is fun to watch. He's been several times in the World Championships. He won twice, 2005 and 2007. He was a silver medalist in 2006.
And ranked number 2 coming into this finals.
6.9 was his degree of difficulty, 1/10 higher than Legendre. And this is what he's known for, is these great combinations. Wow, Arabian double front to a front punch full. Wow.
Nice landing there on the pike double Arabian.
I was in Brazil not long ago, and I saw him, and he's, of course, has his sights set to the 2016 games in his hometown of Rio. And many gymnastics fans know, of course, his older sister Danielle is a 4-time Olympian, and she competed here as well for Brazil.
A little doubt in some of these landings.
Exactly. Those are 1/10 to 3/10 of a point, depending on how big that step is. Wow, how many tumbling passes. Incredible. That's a laid-out Thomas invented by Kurt Thomas, former U.S. world champion. Triple twist, but he just couldn't control the landings on that very springy floor.
I'll be interested to see how his execution score compares, because he has the difficulty. We talked about how Kohei settles into those landings. He almost just seemed like he wasn't able to settle in on those landings. He was rebounding out on almost every pass he did.
Brazil's first world champion. He did that back in 2005. It was very interesting. Some gymnasts, you know, are so powerful, sometimes it's just hard to turn off that power switch and absorb the landings. I've seen that with a lot of these really springy young gymnasts.
Well, you have to have that kind of spring to do some of these combination passes. Even there on that triple full right at the end. Just would bend those knees a little bit softer.
Here's a guy who has undergone 5-foot ankle and knee surgeries over the years. So,
wow.
You know, gymnastics at this level is hard on the body. And so at 27 years of age, hoping to contend for a medal in his hometown of Rio in 2016.
15.366 for the Brazilian. And that ties him with Steven Legendre, who preceded him on the floor. A tie for second at the moment. 3 athletes in. And now the veteran from Germany, 25-year-old Fabian Hambuechen, who was the youngest German athlete way back at the 2004 Summer Olympics in Athens. He's been around quite a while and has endured his fair share of injuries that he's had to recover from.
Bronze medalist in the all-around here.
He was fun to watch because this is the event he finished on. Put him on the podium for the first time in the all-around competition.
Wow, nice. 2.5 twister to a tough double front. That's the kind of stuff you pull out for the finals, right? Not everybody will risk something like that during the qualification.
So we should see his difficulty score definitely go up.
Good. It was a 6.3 in qualifying, significantly lower than the top gymnast in this final. So he does need to go for all the difficulty. He's going to contend for a medal here today. He's really one of the most popular figures on the world gymnastics scene. He's known as Fabi to all his friends, but he travels the world and he's always has a kind comment and a smile, and he's enormously popular in international gymnastics circuit. Oh!
Wow, lots of difficulty. Hold on to that landing in that last tumbling pass.
Coached by his father, Wolfgang Hambuechen. Fabian owns 8 world medals, 2 Olympic medals, and 11 European medals in his distinguished career. 25 years of age. This is beautiful. Laid out double-double. Lands a little bit with his feet apart. If his feet are wider than the width of his shoulders, it could be as much as 3/10 of a point.
But he was going for the stick,
Sure was.
which is important too. Every athlete in this finals knows how important every single detail is. You need the difficulty. You got to execute as clean as possible. Go for the sticks.
And you're right, Amanda. In the finals, a lot of gymnasts go for a little bit harder difficulty if they have the capacity to do it, because a safe, clean routine won't win a medal at the World Championships these days. You have to go with a big difficulty.
The German with a score of 15.3.
Attention, il était 5e à la finale des Jeux de
Kohei Uchimura of Japan, current leader, after 4 athletes on the floor exercise in the individual event finals from Antwerp, Belgium. And next up is our second of the 2 Americans, the 22-year-old Jacob Dalton from the University of Oklahoma, a former NCAA and U.S. floor champion.
In qualifying, his degree of difficulty was 6.5, qualified 6th into these finals. A laid-out Arabian double front he's well known for.
Coming back right there with the pike position. Perfect landing.
Of course, he was a member of the U.S. men's team at the Olympics last summer in London. And he was a finalist at the 2011 World Championships. Jake is also an outstanding all-around gymnast. His one-week event holds him back a little bit, the pommel horse. The other 5 events are outstanding, and of course, floor involved really is a place where he can shine with his extreme power and explosive tumbling. Beautiful triple full at the end. You see how he just hung it up in the air there looking for the landing? Beautiful.
That was an exciting routine for sure. He has to be proud. He scored a 15.166 in the day 1 competition. He had that slight hop there, but really fought for the landings.
And he's well known for that laid out Arabian double front. It's hard to keep your body completely stretched throughout both of those flips. And he does that exceptionally well. Even though he's finished with his eligibility at the University of Oklahoma, he is still training there. In May, he became engaged to his girlfriend, Kayla Nowak, who was a former OU gymnast. Boy, look at that. Triple full, just dropped from the ceiling.
We talked about how hard it can be for these athletes who have always competed on a team or in a college or university environment. Coming here as an individual, it's tough.
Let's see if he can challenge Uchimura, who currently is the leader on the floor. Uchimura was up first, scored 15.5. And now Jacob Dalton awaits his marks. And he's the new leader, 15.6 for the American. Outscoring Uchimura.
Uchimura doesn't seem too fazed by it.
Little spurt. Well, that was a great routine for Jake, really focusing on the detail, and that's what it takes.
You don't see much emotion from Uchimura. That's the most expression we see from him on the sidelines. He's like, oh, well, I'm still the world all-around champion.
Exactly.
Well, Dalton's neighbor to the north, Canadian Scott Morgan, next up, as Jacob Dalton is the leader now, 5 athletes deep.
That move is called a layout double with a full twist in the second flip. Oh, sweet. Layout double to a punch front 1 1/4.
You almost never know what's coming with these passes.
Oh, that's
combinations.
amazing. The only way you can do that is if your Achilles tendons are made out of some kind of carbon fiber. That was amazing. Now he's continuing in this reputation. The Canadians have had very strong floor exercise workers. Olympic and world medalist Kyle Schufelt, of course, was a legend from Canada, and Brandon O'Neill was a world medalist several years ago. So Canadians have done well here.
Now, the first time, though, that a Canadian male has qualified to a final at a World Championships or an Olympic competition since 2006.
Qualified 7th into this final of the 8 best in the world.
Oh! Came up a little short there. Talked about how many tumbling passes. That's sometimes what happens. The endurance. Lose a little bit of steam on that final tumbling pass.
You know, it's amazing. When we competed, of course, that was almost 30 years ago.
Hey. Only 17 for me.
You, okay. You know, 3 tumbling passes, maybe 3.5 or 4 was a maximum. Now they're doing 7 tumbling passes in the same time limit. And of course, this just blows my mind. A layout double and counter back with a punch front 1 1/4. Like I said, you can imagine the enormous strain on the ankles and Achilles tendons to be able to deliver that rebounding skill. A lot of gymnasts are getting bonus points for connecting those twisting moves. It was a 2.5 twister backwards to a frontward 1.5 twister.
Of course, all those elements affecting the difficulty score. Execution starts from that 10.0, what a lot of people are used to seeing, and then those landing positions come off of that score.
Now the 24-year-old from Vancouver, a score of 14.833. So Jacob Dalton continues to set the pace with a 15.6 ahead of Kohei Uchimura and Diego Hypolito in the top 3. And next up from Great Britain, Daniel Purvis, the 23-year-old who was part of the bronze medal winning team in his home country at the Olympics a year ago.
Jake Dalton's going to get a medal for the United States because there's only 2 more performers to go. So Dalton will get a bronze or better depending on these performances. Purvis qualified 5th into this final as a 6.5 degree of difficulty. So the high degree of difficulty for Dalton is what is holding him in that medal podium finish position right now. Purvis was a part of the 2012 bronze medal winning team for Great Britain in London. It was an incredible moment for this program, their first ever team medal in front of a home crowd.
He also won bronze on this event in 2010 at the World Championships.
Nice combination at the end, a whip to an Arabian double front.
A difficult pass at the end, not just because of the combination, but because of that landing. A little bit tired.
Yeah, and doing a whip to a double Arabian double at the end, that's risky. I've seen a lot of gymnasts do an Arabian double front at the end and land on their seat because they're just out of gas. But he is so powerful.
Cher public, le gymnaste suivant, moi je le qualifierais d'exceptionnel. Il y a quelques années, lorsque nous avons vu apparaître les triples vrilles au sol.
All of this is a prelude to the next gymnast coming up, and Kenzo Shirai, who, as I mentioned earlier, has the highest degree of difficulty, and we're about ready to see a historic routine at the World Championships from the next performer from Japan.
And he's only 17 years old.
Now the youngest gymnast on the Japanese team to make it to the World Championships, as we now await the scores for Daniel Purvis, three-time British all-around champion,
coached by Jeff Brooks and Andre Popoff.
15-4. So it's going to come down to our final gymnast on the floor, the top qualifier. Right now, Jacob Dalton of the U.S. in position to potentially win the gold medal, but he has to survive the top qualifier, Kenzo Shirai of Japan, who qualified with a score of 16.233.
I'm going to say it right now. There's no chance that Shirai doesn't win this. Watch what he does. 22 1/4 twists in this routine. This is historic. 3.5 to a front double full. Incredible combination. Watch this. Full to a front triple full. One slight bobble. But he has a 1/2 point more in difficulty than the rest of the field, and as much as a point more than almost everybody else in this final competition. So he can afford a couple of bobbles here on landings because his difficulty is so extreme. And it's all twisting elements. Watch this. He's nowhere near done. 2.5 to a 2.5. That's 5 twists in combination. Even his side pass is a full twisting side somersault. And this move coming up here will just blow your mind. It's the last tumbling pass. It's a quad. 4 twists. Oh, wow! And he drilled it!
That should do it.
Just give me the goal. Wow.
Wow.
Look at that fresh-faced 17-year-old young man.
Everybody in the finals right now is probably on their feet because that is a well-deserved standing ovation from teammates.
And when you see Uchimura, who's, you know, the gymnastics god, on his feet saying, okay, you're the best in the world, just take it, buddy. Look at that front full to a triple twist, and that was the sloppiest landing. You know, interestingly enough, he can do double twisting, double flipping moves. And in fact, you know, a gymnast routine should be balanced with forward and backward and single flipping, double twisting moves. But he gets more difficulty value by doing these combination of twisting moves than he would by doing a double twisting, double back somersault. Smart routine construction. And this quad at the end just blows my mind. A triple at the end is hard, but he does a quad. He is hands down the new world champion.
Yeah, the score at this point just a formality.
Sure is.
For the 16-year-old high school sophomore from Japan. Now when King Kohei opens his mouth like that and applauds, like almost in awe, you know you've done something special.
And he's the only gymnast here in Antwerp who scored above 16 in any event, and he did it on floor in qualifying with a 16.233. This guy just turned 17 in August.
Bright future.
I'll say.
Now for Jacob Dalton, no shame in silver.
No kidding. Great job for the American. Stuck his landings in good combinations. Even Uchimura, he was quoted recently saying, you know, I just can't beat this kid on floor and vault. So.
Now Jacob Dalton, though, who got into gymnastics as a youngster because of his baseball coach, believe it or not, comes from a very athletic family. Father played basketball, mom softball. His sister's also involved in gymnastics currently. And he's going to come away with a silver medal. The score just a formality here. So it is a 16 even and a gold medal for the Japanese teenager Kenzo Shirai. A gold medal on the floor for the youngest member of the Japanese team tonight in Antwerp, Belgium.